fill those, or how's that working?
Yeah, and the kicking job, they're all open, I guess, so to say. But who we kidding, right? But the kicking job is battle between Tristan and Timmy for both jobs. Brian's involved in the kickoff job as well. He's doing a nice job of that. The fine line this time of the year is trying not to do too much in terms of like get a bunch of kickoffs and then having Brian punt and then making sure he's got his time off. So we're just trying to be smart about how we're separating all that. But I think Brian is going to be our starting punter. I don't think there's any secret about that. But the kicking job I see as something that's going to extend at least for the next couple of weeks.
Do you feel like you need to give the guy who's going to kick against Minnesota as a place kicker like ample time to prepare mentally? Does he need to know like that entire week of that game?
Yeah, I think so. But again, that I would love it for somebody to jump out and win the job. So as long as it's even, we've got to do our due diligence in making sure that we're preparing both guys right now to get ready. One of the things that we're doing is so we have a rack out there with the team in front of the team. So then we bring it to another location and we continue the rack and say, these are the competitive kicks, even though we're not there. So I let the guys know these are the competitive kicks for practice that we're judging, who's going to win the job off of. And then there's other times where we're just working and trying to get better. Ideally I'd like to give them a week before that game, but I'm trying right now. I feel like I'm doing the best I can, or we can, Coach Rule and I, to prepare both guys. Like you guys are both going to be ready to play as of right now. So getting them enough kicks, get them the same amount of kicks they would have as if they were the starter right now.
Would they be the same two guys for kickoff then, or is there anybody else?
Brian's involved in the kickoff too. So those three guys right now are involved in the kickoff job, and all three of those guys are good on the kickoff. So I'm not as concerned about. I'm not concerned about either job because they're both kicking the ball well. So it's not like they're struggling. So we're making a fair amount of kick. We're over 75% on the kickoffs, which isn't good enough, but they're both making enough kicks where I can see with a little bit of improvement we might be okay going into the year.
Who's your holder?
Brian's the holder.
Brian's.
Yeah.
And Tristan has kicked in big situations in high school. And Timmy, of course, has a lot of experience in college. How do those things balance out? Like, does kicking at Memorial Stadium in a state championship, does that give you as much confidence in a guy and what he might do on a big stage in comparison to somebody who's actually been out there?
That was recruiting, and now we have an eye on him now. Now it's the competition here. I'm watching exactly what's in front of me now. But in the recruiting process, I think you and I have talked before, Sean, about like making those kicks was really critical for him being here, because I think that's one of the concerns you have with the young guy. I can tell you this, the moment is not too big for Tristan right now. So he's out here right now kicking, and he doesn't look like he's a freshman with a deer in the headlights. And it's great for Timmy. And I've been doing this is my 35th year coaching college football, and very few years has intense competition at any position, whether I was coaching the O-line or tight ends or now special teams. Competition almost always is good for everybody. And I think right now I'm really pleased with how those guys are pushing and supporting each other with Brian in the middle. It's a really good, fun room. I told those guys yesterday or the day before, I'm like, man, I love coaching this room right now because there's a lot of positive energy and there's a lot of guys working on their craft to get better.
Are there little areas between Tristan and Timmy that they do one thing better? Does anyone have a little more distance or a little more accuracy?
It's too early to tell that right now. No, just still working on it.
As a coach, do you have to provide a clear outline of what exactly the person that's going to win the job needs to do? Well, to these guys, like, do you have to let them know in advance, or do you just put them out there?
No, I mean, the number one parameter that we're looking for right now is the percentage of kicks through the pipes. And the one thing that's really good is, like, you're coaching the tight ends, and you get into the scrimmage, and so grades out at 84%, and this guy plays better, but he ends up grading out at 78%. This guy's clearly better, but his grade's lower. And like, you got to now explain that to the guys. Like, this is it. Tight end's a little different because you can play more than one, but it's relevant when in the field goal game, it's really kind of cut and dry. There might be some other factor, but right now we're just trying to see who's going to put the ball through the pipes at a higher level. So that part of it's at the kicking position makes it a little bit easier.
Is there a spot from where they're kicking from where it matters more that their accuracy would be higher? So like a guy's better at kicking at 45 yards and someone's better at kicking 50. Do you have to train at all?
We could do that. I mean, I've done it in the past where like so-and-so, we did this at Baylor where like so-and-so was going to kick 45 and in, and this guy had a better leg, so he was going to kick further out. I don't see that right now. But I don't have a total hand. They're both capable of making kicks from a pretty far distance. So what I'm doing right now is just quantifying who's, it's kind of like a graphic of who's better from what this. But honestly, right now, I'm not even into that part of it because it's still kind of early for me. I'm just collecting data, and I'm just trying to collect data and see who's making more kicks from whatever distance it is.
You brought in a lot. You brought in a lot of
getting reps at returner. Do you have a sense of what that will look like?
No, I don't. I can tell you Billy Kemp is going to be our puck returner or in the top group. So right now, Billy and IGC are the guys on the puck. Some of the young kids are doing okay. But the kickoff return job, I think, we're not quite as far along, and I knew that going in. And it's hard because we're still doing a lot. We just put the pads in it. We only had pads on for one day, so like there's a part of that kickoff return job that's going to be like kind of, we got to send some guys down there at him and see who's going to get up in there. Kind of fearless factor to that. But we got some guys that are catching it and tracking it pretty well. I think that job will be okay.
You added a lot of athletic freshmen. How many of those guys could maybe help you play special teams and maybe go beyond 4 games this year?
There's a few. The whole group, and I don't want to get into any specific names because some of it becomes a general manager thing. So I'm just trying to get them all better right now. But definitely, there's freshmen that can play on special teams, and they certainly can be. They're certainly projecting right now as a number of them that are backups right now that I can see starting for us, come mid-season, whether that's because of injury break, they've earned it or whatever. But there's definitely a young group out there that's running around. They're having fun too. They're great to coach.
The track numbers, the triple jump numbers, all these things that you brought in, does that show up in special teams when guys run and get down the field and see?
Yeah, absolutely. The speed and the high speed, I call it high speed decision making, right? But you can't have high speed decision making if you don't have high speed. So we have some guys with high speed right now that really are learning very quickly, but are getting down the field very, very fast. And that's good to see.
Do you have an impression of feedback from players about how tough camp has been, or if it's different than what they've had in previous years?
No. I don't ask them that. Like, I'm not one of these guys that's like, how are your legs today? Or like, that's just me. Somebody else might be able to give you some better feedback on that. I've heard some things along the lines of, hey, it's great to work on this. Like, we didn't work on this, and this is or saying something like, this is the first time I've worked on this, coach. Give me some time. But I don't really worry. I can't worry about that. I'm trying to have a plan of what we need to get in on special teams to be ready to play the first game, and we're on track. We're on track to do that, and we got a whole lot of guys bought in to doing that. And coach is awesome because coach threw a situation at us today that was like end of game situation. Game's on the line. It comes down to a kick, and there's a messed up situation, and we got to make it happen, and we didn't get it done. And I can't look at coach and be like, well, we didn't work on that, or we didn't talk about that yet. That's learning on the job, and we got that done today. We need to do a whole bunch of that, but we're just trying to learn and get better.
That's kind of what Rule's like. Like he'll just throw situations and you guys as coaches are just expected to kind of know what to do.
Yeah, hopefully you have so much you can put in, and hopefully you have it in. But if not, for me, it's making us better. So and when I was a younger coach, I'd be like, I would have been out on the field, but coach, I didn't put that in. He doesn't care. Like, and the game doesn't care. Like, no, I'm not going to be able to say after Minnesota, I'm not going to stand before you and be, well, I didn't put that in, guys. And then, that's on me. But like, we all got to learn and get better, and those situations make us all better. I would play as much situational football on special teams as I could. If I could do it all the time, I've got some skills to build right now. But as we get into it, we're going to try to do a lot of those situational things in practice. When we get into those later days in practice, throwing all those different kicks at them, all those surprise kicks and all those kickoff returns, and end up going all over the place. That's an example of something that we'll try to do, but like just trying to keep them on their toes.
With as much as you've been around the state, it's easy to forget that you haven't been out yet on Friday nights in the fall. Are you looking forward to that in September? I mean, there should be opportunities with some home games for you to go out and see some.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting out to. I would love to be able to go to some of these places that I've been to, in the spring and in December, and see what they're like on Friday night. I'm huge into that. It'll be interesting to see what the opportunities are to do that. My number one goal on Friday night is going to be like, how can I get the team ready and then go catch a game? So I don't know how far I can get or how that's all going to work schedule-wise, but I can imagine after seeing some track meets out in the central and the western part of the state. I can only imagine what a Friday night football game is like.
Have the guys played any pranks on you in the dorms yet?
No, and I told him my son is involved in all that crap. So I told him, I said, if you do that to me, you're cleaning it up. So I've hedged my bets against all that nonsense. But I got enough of a sense of humor that I'll be all right. So there's a bunch of younger guys that deserve all that stuff. I'm good. When I walk into the dorm, I'd like to go to sleep within about 6 minutes if I can.
All good, guys?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.